This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Listen, don't text the show today because we are not live for various reasons. We're actually... Anyway, you can, however, follow the show at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or email the show via the Absolute website. So we exist, but we are not part of the time vortex.
Do we exist, Frank?
Innit?
Pardon?
Do we exist, Frank? I was being like a French philosophy friend of yours, and we were smoking Gauloise in a cafe.
Yeah, okay. Well, I drink, therefore I am, which is something I used to say a lot in the 80s. Welcome. I can't actually see Alan and Emily, but it's lovely to just feel the love down the line.
What are you wearing?
What am I wearing? I'm wearing... You remember someone sent us a free Lewis Chessman T-shirt?
Oh, it's good, that. I've got one.
I've bulldog clipped it into a mankini.
That's not what I've done.
No, but I think I've got less to cover. It's okay as long as you don't sit on the clip. If you sit on the clip, it all springs up into a crop top. Oh, yeah. Anyway, you don't want to hear about that.
I'm wearing a hoodie that I got given by a friend who used to have a sort of ski wear business, and it went bust. And so he gave me loads of hoodies, and I love them. And I feel a bit bad about the fact that every time I wear them, I'm sort of enjoying his company's demise. That's...
Well, you're not really enjoying that, are you?
No,
Although there was that French philosopher who said... talked about the very unique pleasure of watching a close friend fall off the roof of a house.
Wow.
But I'm sure
philosophy meets slapstick.
Yeah, but I think if he knows you well, he'll know that it's the free that's the important rather than the fail.
I'm also wearing a free top, so that's all of us.
Wow, all three of us individually are wearing free tops. We haven't even come together to wear free tops. It's happened spontaneously. That's incredible. One of the joys of this job, I must say, is free stuff. Perhaps it's the main joy. I haven't decided yet. What I need is a league table of joy relating to this job. And whatever it was at the top, obviously it would be the love and attention of the audience, mainly the camaraderie of you two, but nevertheless, free stuff would be right up there in the top section, I must say. This week alone, I've had a book from a guy called Mark Morris called The Anglo-Saxons, and you think, well, that's the perfect gift for Frank, but it arrived in the same post as a book called Excavate, which was about the fall. What about that for a combo of freebies?
Wow.
Oh, man, it's covering all my aspects.
I mean,
Is Mark Morris,
which is more than I can say for my mankini.
Was Mark Morris, was he Return of the Mac?
Yeah, I don't think it's him. I don't like to pigeonhole anyone, but I just can't see him writing a big book on the Anglo-Saxons. But, you know, people probably couldn't imagine me writing a prayer book, let's face it.
Yeah.
That's quieting people down a bit. Whenever you mention the prayer book, it all gets a bit awkward. People think, I don't really want to talk about the prayer, but it's a bit weird. When Graham Norton, he says, you got a prayer book out. Anyway, next week, we moved on to something else. I mean, I felt for him.
Well, I loved the prayer book. I've told you
I know,
this.
that was lovely of you.
But
even I'm awkward talking about it. It's a prayer book, for goodness sake. How did that happen? I used to be the dirty mouth comic. I still am, in many ways. Anyway, we're not here to talk about contradictions of personality, are
prayer
we?
books.
Prayer books. We're here to talk about prayer. No, we're not. No, I am on. I'm on Good Morning Sunday on Sunday morning. I'm talking to Jason Mohammed about prayer books. If you want to tune in and listen to me.
Oh. Oh, I will do. I've never seen that show, but I will.
No, it's a radio show. That'll be why.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like GMB, but it had a religious theme. I thought that's what it sounded like.
No, it's nothing like GMB.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I was watching a fantastic television program. You know, we have a sort of a TV club. Us three, me, Emily, and Alan, and we'll arrive every Saturday and say, "Oh, I saw this brilliant stuff," and then we'll often go away, and the other two will watch it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Zen Diary of Gary Shandling?
Oh, yes.
Can I say I put this forward in the TV club some while back?
It is absolutely fantastic. But I was watching it. If you're interested in comedy, watch that 2-part documentary. Anyway, I was watching it. And I thought, God, how did he cope, this guy? So much pain and angst, even though he was doing really well, just suffering for his art, awful. And then during the commercial break, I looked at my Doctor Who alerts. Mm-hmm. And Big Finish, who is the company that make Doctor Who audio things, were announcing proudly that they'd got 2 nominations in this year's ARIA Awards. Oh. Now, in case you don't know, the ARIAs are like the Oscars of radio.
Right.
And if you don't get an ARIA nomination, you're nobody. So I thought I'll have a look, see what we got.
Al, I'm just going to go to the toilet and be sick.
Oh, dear.
Absolutely nothing. And so when Gary Shandling came back on, I thought, you know what? He's actually got it quite right. He's actually quite well balanced. I felt, oh, man. It's a credit to that documentary that I probably heard 3 or 4 sentences from the next hour of it. I wasn't just thinking about the fact that we hadn't been nominated for an ARIA. You notice I'm saying we. Obviously, if we had been nominated, I'd be saying I.
Well, I was going to say, Al, it was him that won Best Speech Broadcaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I actually won it, did I? Oh no,
dear.
I did win that one, yes. It's been so long ago. Oh, man, I tell you. And I was looking at the nominations, and there's plenty of congratulations to all Absolute, and I say that with utter sincerity. I do. This is why we only record on audio with no visuals.
That's made me laugh.
Bush and Ritchie got a nomination, Jason Manford, and I thought, is it possible that they've thought, well, we got those 3 people nominated at Absolute, and it was like me, Jason Manford, Bush and Ritchie. But when they put the first 2 down, Jason Manford, Bush and Ritchie, they thought, well, that's 3 names. That must be it with Absolute.
Maybe.
So, is it just sloppy admin?
A clerical error.
I was thinking of getting my PA to phone the ARIA people, but it's embarrassing.
Not
to complain, just to clear it up. We don't want how embarrassing for them on the night when they, walk up to Jason Manford and say, oh, you look much younger in the flesh.
It wouldn't be at all embarrassing for your PA to ring and say, why didn't Frank Skinner get it nominated?
I don't think. I've got to be honest, I was absolutely, sick about it. I'm still feeling, I can feel it a bit. It's a bit like, not when you're in the very depths of flu, but when you're starting to come out of flu and you still feel quite tired and a bit stiff in the bones. Oh man. My first thought was, thank God, we've just signed our new contract. I thought, thank God we got that under the wire before this slap back, because otherwise that could have been a tricky negotiation.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. Don't
forget this week's text-in. Why weren't we nominated for an ARIA award? No, don't text in. There isn't any text. There's no text in this week because we're not live.
But if they send us emails, we can sort of consider it to be long-distance correspondence and reply next week, can't we?
Yeah, I'm not sure we should have that as an actual text. I mean, we could put it on...
I'm not sure either, Frank.
Imagine if we put that on Twitter. Why weren't we nominated for an ARIA award? Can you imagine the depth of the bile that we would have to wallow in? That sort of bile that goes into long strands when you pull at it. That's what it would be like.
I don't think they allow that stuff on Twitter, do they?
Look, if we had no, I don't think they do. If we had texting this week, I would declare a praise amnesty and just get as much love in as I could to try and pull me through this.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling pretty low. I've got to be straight with you. But again, congratulations to Jason and Bush and Richie.
You've said that 4 times now, Frank.
Enjoy your evening.
You sound like that man. Enjoy your win, Jane.
I think it's all right to talk about. If we'd been, when you get nominated and then someone says, "Oh, I got nominated," I was really shocked. I think it's all right to say, "I didn't get nominated. I was really shocked." I mean, that's both sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
I'm thinking also of the tearful acceptance speech. What about my tears? Anyway, that's. Awards,
Frank,
they don't mean anything, we know
they
that.
should let one person who wasn't nominated make a speech.
Oh, that could be good. That's a great idea.
And just why they're sad.
I think they're
not
dangerous.
Nominated.
I think why they're sad is all right. Why they're bitter and twisted would be worse for the evening. I think there should be a European ARIA nominations where you get nominated every year, absolutely guaranteed, whether you've done good or badly. But of course, someone would be upset about that.
The ARIA Super League.
Anyway, let's not dwell on this slap in the face.
No.
What else then is happening? You ask me. Oh, I'll tell you what I did do last week. I went for a long drive. I say a long drive, like a couple of hours. First time I've had a long drive. Oh God, since I don't remember, because of like lockdowns and things. And you know what? I just thought I actually liked driving again. It felt great.
You're going places.
It was elbow on the sill driving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Oh, it really felt good. I felt like I was in an American road movie, even though I was in Gloucestershire. Well, I suppose I drove about 80 miles. And then, obviously, I drove 80 miles back. Otherwise, I'm just going to pop off and
get a Paisley shirt because I feel like James May right now.
Yeah, obviously, I'm suppressing the instinct to ask Frank what miles per gallon he averaged, all that sort of stuff.
Well, of course, I wouldn't know that. What I do know is you lose Absolute Radio at Oxford, certainly on my car. I mean. How do we get these texts from like New Zealand and stuff if I can't get Absolute Radio in Oxford in the car? Can that be right?
Oh, it can't be.
And obviously I couldn't bear to listen to another channel, so I just listened to for about an hour. And that's hard on the nerves.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I was just talking about, I don't know if it's just me, but I can't get Absolute Radio past Oxford on my car. I used to have a car aerial. Has that become something that no one has anymore, a car aerial? I mean a silver thing sticking out the back of the car. Has that gone forever?
Well, I believe
that's just on your vintage car now.
Yes. Because
it's
I
good.
remember
It's a good thing.
My parents would always say, when it would get vandalised and snapped off, and my parents would always say, "Oh, the yobbos have been at the aerial." Don't get yobbos anymore.
No. I get neither yobbos nor aerials anymore. They both.
Exactly.
My dad always used, whenever any kind of aerial reference came up, like, if we were, sometimes we'd sit reading Midsummer Night's Dream to each other in the evenings.
Would you?
We wouldn't.
Do you notice
Like
I
if-
didn't
if-
question that at all?
If you extended like the radio aerial at home, he would always tell the same story, which I never knew if he always said it was true, that a friend of his had leaned over to pick up a newspaper and the television aerial had gone up his nose and
dear.
hadn't killed him but had left him not the man he was. And for the rest of my life, whenever I see a radio aerial extended, I always point it towards the wall. Everything in our house was pointed towards the wall so we didn't get an aerial up our nose. How these things live with one.
That's good. Good little bit of health and safety broadcasting there, I think.
Yeah, there is enough of that. But now they're not on cars. I used to imagine a car could drive past you, say if you were just about to pick something out the gutter, and it could happen, not only would it go into your brain, but you'd be dragged 150 yards, say, up the road before the driver realised that the radio reception was not what it had been.
Yeah.
Now, we don't text us today because we're not live, but we've got stuff that's come in during the week and stuff, so we can still have some contact with our people.
Yes. Well, I'd like to share something with you. This is from Conan in Letchworth, and he has sent us a missive called Name My Quails.
Is it an idea for a game show?
No,
Okay.
it's an idea for a name for his quails.
I thought it was going to be a TV show where you take your quails on every week and celebrities come up with names for them.
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask another question? A quail, I know they lay eggs, and I've eaten quail's eggs.
Of course.
But if there
Man
was
of
a
the people.
quail, if there was a quail in my garden, I don't know if I'd be able to recognise it and say, "Ooh, look at that quail." Is it like
it's
a
not
game bird?
Yes,
think it
I
is,
always think of it in the same gang as the pheasant.
Okay.
That's
Fair
Hang
enough,
out
I know.
together like yobbos. Very unlike yobbos. To Frank, Divine Miss M and Alan, I am soon to be the owner of a quail, as in the small brown pheasant.
Okay.
Naturally, I was wondering about the aspects of bird ownership, and I wondered what I could call the quails should they hatch. I can think of no better people to come up with punning, quail-based names than the Saturday morning crew. Hopefully you can come up with names similar to that of David Baddiel's cat, Chem and Meow. Sorry for any misspelling. I would thrust the night's move upon Emily, like so many readers, but I am 12 and not a filthy creep. That is all. Conan Letchworth.
good stuff.
It's a pity he's not a filthy creep in that he lives in Letchworth. But life doesn't always work out perfectly for the punning thing. Well, we'll come back to this, Conan. Stick around.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We're in the midst of dealing with correspondence from Conan from Letchworth, who not only did he ask us to name his quail, but interestingly, he said he didn't want to make a night's move on Emily
Yes.
because he didn't want to be a filthy creep. Two phrases which I don't think have been used on the show for probably, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah. it's
When
a
he was
while.
8, he was picking them. That's a worry, isn't it? That is a worry. That was the golden age of the Aria-nominated show that we used to run in. So we're going to come up... You see, the fact that he's 12, I've already got an issue here, because everything in my very being wants to say Anthony as a name for the quail,
Quail.
because
That's
Anthony Quayle was a
great.
famous actor, but I doubt if Conan
Yes.
knows
Don't think
anything.
a 12-year-old.
Much before.
I was
need
wondering
a more-
how much history he knows, because Quail Caesar could be quite good, couldn't
That's
it?
a good
'Cause it
one.
sounds a bit like
Oh,
Hail
I see.
Caesar. No?
Yeah,
About
Caesar.
Bill Quailey. Like Bill Bailey.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't really work, that, does it? But what I liked is that everyone was you were sort of hesitant rather than instantly judgmental. There was just a pause.
You know what? I did it visually.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad
my
it was
face-
done.
My face
Bill
was horrified.
Quailey. Is that what you went for, yeah? Bill.
Oh, don't
Bill
remind
Quailey.
me of Bill Quailey.
Oh, but hold on. If it's got feathers, it could be Quill Quailey.
Well, what about, rather than it being a pun on Bill Bailey, maybe it's a pun on Bill Haley?
Bill Haley.
Like Bill Quailey and the Comets. Or
Can
Bill...
we get off the subject of Bill Quailey? I think it's the worst thing I've ever
I don't
done.
think Emily wants to be remembered for Bill Quailey.
Honestly, I feel sick.
I'd like
Well,
to do
when
the rest
we
of the
made-
link on it. I think it's
Please don't
unfair.
talk about Bill Quailey ever again.
When we
I
made
feel
the
disgusted with myself.
the Emily Dean time capsule, which
Oh,
we
please.
bury somewhere in Knightsbridge, so that she'll be remembered in the future. I don't think we should put in Bill Quailey.
Please stop even saying Bill
Sorry,
Quailey.
we won't say it again.
Al, please,
B&Q.
can I
Call
get
it
your-
B&Q as a code name.
Oh no! Oh, will you promise me you'll not mention Bill Quailey again?
I'll try.
Can I,
not to.
you did it. You mentioned it.
Yeah.
Can I ask? Did Conan, a name I'm using casually, even though it's startling, did Conan say whether it's a male quail or a female quail?
Lovely.
Internal rhyme.
You see, I come up with,
Assonance.
I
Maybe
come
he
up
doesn't
with
know what he's getting.
Bill Quailey, and you even come up with assonance without realising it.
Yeah. Well,
This,
look.
he doesn't state, Frank.
Yeah.
He just says, no, he just says the owner of a quail, the small brown pheasant. I mean, if we had Alex Horn, he'd be able to tell us a great deal about the bird, wouldn't he?
Well, he's only a twitcher.
Oh, was he a Twitcher?
Yeah, I believe he is, or he was certainly for the purposes of a book.
Oh,
No, no, it was a genuine.
it might
I
be
don't know
one
if
of
it's a
those ones.
lifetime.
No, it was a genuine.
Passion project while I've got a book deal.
Yeah, I'm utterly obsessed with this for the course of my Edinburgh
His
show. and then I'll
father
never-
was a bird watcher.
No, I'm not saying. I find
I know.
Alex to be more authentic than many in the public eye. So you probably is.
So your question, Minister, you want to know whether the quail is male?
or female. I know this male or female is something of a bourgeois construct that we don't
Only
bother
in
with
humans,
anymore.
I think. I don't think it is in the animal kingdom.
Well, I think we should maybe go for a more neutral name. Like what about Pauline? I don't know why. I think Pauline just feels like a great name for a quail, even if it's a male quail. 'Cause it's got a bit of Paul.
Quirk
in
and
it as
quail.
well.
I like it.
Yeah, so that. There you go, Conan. Any other problems? Give us a shout.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Don't text the show today because we're not actually live. We're sitting at our various tables at home. But you can follow the show at Frank on the Radio on Twitter and Instagram, or you can email us via the Absolute Radio website. So we're still out there.
Just a point of pedantry, I'm actually sat cross-legged on the floor.
Are you really? You're going to do that for 3 hours?
Yeah, I'm going to be really crampy later.
Wow, that's something. I don't think. I mean, the cross-legged. I remember at school we used to have to sit cross-legged in assembly. There was no chairs in the hall, and it was great. Didn't bother me at all. But now to sit cross-legged, I also think as well when we went. Do you remember we went as a sort of absolute group outing? We went to see Coldplay at.
I remember.
Was it the
Oh, we
Palladium?
did.
I think it was.
Do you remember there was a
Yes.
point where Chris Martin, sat on the stage cross-legged and then did that thing which I felt, for me, was the best part of the show. When he stood up without using his hands, his
think we
legs
talked
still
about it.
crossed.
Oh, it was extraordinary.
It was like
Yeah.
one of those. Do you remember those extending grabbers that you used to be able to pick things up from a distance? You used to pull the two legs on them, and they were really amazing.
It was impressive.
It was
I enjoyed that.
miraculous. You see, I was a cross-legger in the school photo always, on account
yeah.
of me being so short.
Oh,
always
is
me in
that-
the
is
front.
that how they're working out? And yeah. I see that. I don't really do the cross-legged anymore. I like the idea of the sort of full lotus, if you know what I mean, but it's beyond me.
I'm going to do that in next week's pre-record. I'm working my way up.
Well, I find just doing my toenails is painful in the extreme on the hips.
Is it?
Oh dear.
I just do one toe a day. I can't keep it up for any longer than that. How long before it's out of reach? 8, 12, 15. No, don't text the show.
That would have been a good texting. We actually did have a good message from the past. You know, sometimes we bring up things that we talked about in the past.
Yeah. Well, now I can sit back and think I'm on my home ground, the past.
I don't know if you recall, a couple of weeks ago we were discussing Andy Murray, who was considering becoming a golf caddy.
Oh, yeah.
Slight side issue, I thought.
And I think, didn't we also have the Dalai Lama who was considering becoming a tea caddy? Yeah. in his next manifestation. Green tea, obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It did occur to me, it's a shame that people like Andy Murray who have successful sporting careers wouldn't think of becoming a careers advisor, because at school they were largely losers, weren't they? And
But they still have careers advisors.
I think they do, and I think it is, it's one of those jobs where it would really help if the person was like a real visible winner like Andy Murray. If he gave you careers advice, you think, oh yeah, well, you know about stuff, don't you?
I remember my careers officer gave me a dossier on
to become a spy.
jobs in the film and TV industry.
Really?
Yeah, when I was like 14 or something.
Really?
Here you are.
That's a weird thing. Yeah. So
didn't
I
get
just
one of
sent
those.
off comedian, and went on an apprenticeship. Funny, it was that simple, eh? It was. We had a book, didn't we? Someone sent us their book on stand-up comedy, and if it was just that, just some addresses.
Well, that'd be good.
I did the same. I had to ring at least 2 of my dad's friends.
Wow, what kind of a monster was that first guy? Maybe he'd already allocated some friends' daughters that day, and he had some sort of a capping system.
Yes.
You know those strict guys with the nepotism? Would it be nepotism? I suppose it would be.
I don't know. Well, we never heard of him again, so there you go.
No, I shouldn't think he was ever spoken to again. The git.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Al, I think you were in the midst of correspondence.
I was in the midst of a text that we had in, or maybe a tweet, about the Andy Murray unexpected career change conversation that we had, where we were discussing Andy Murray becoming a golf caddy, and I think I brought up Dick Francis becoming a novelist after being a jockey, and Stevie at Rug82 has messaged Frank, Emily and Alan. Can't believe you missed the most unusual and unexpected career change as that Andy Murray was considering. Dion Dublin, Premier League striker, now on Homes Under the Hammer. I was totally blindsided on this one. That is a big change, isn't it?
Well, I think that footballers are profoundly materialistic, and you know that sort of footballers' cribs thing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So I think that their property. It used to be a thing, didn't it? Andy Carroll's house, I remember, was a particular gold mine of nouveau riche extremity. It was great in that it was exactly what you wanted Andy Carroll's home to be.
Excellent.
But I like that. I like being a member of the nouveau riche myself. I like misjudged excess.
Yes.
When the poor get lucky, as I might put it. Yes, so, I think that.
Yeah, Sol Campbell was big on the old property development. I
Oh
seem to recall.
yes, that's right. He was. See,
I think a lot of people say it about Robbie Fowler too, don't they?
What, he's big on the property thing.
Yeah.
Is there a joke in this I've missed?
No, I think
Okay.
it's a thing that people talk about. That he
Oh, that's a good
owns loads of property.
Quail's name, isn't it?
Robbie Fowler.
What, Robbie Fowler?
You've gone
that's
silent
yeah.
again. Is that another
That
Bill
would-
Quailey?
That
was
would
good.
No, I think that Robbie would be good because
thank
of the
you.
foul
Thank you.
aspect.
I suppose if the 12-year-old is interested in political history, he could call the quail Dan Quail. Isn't that an American
that's
vice
good.
president?
Al,
Yeah.
you've nailed it. You've nailed it.
Dan, it's a nice name for a pet as well, whereas Anthony, you don't want to be calling out a 3-syllable thing. You know, I mean, I don't know if you take a quail for a walk, but you know, when they are sort of running off, I think they're quite speedy quails, if I remember
they?
rightly.
Are they?
Yeah, I think they virtually gallop.
Wow.
And if you're calling Anthony, I mean, with each syllable,
many
it's 10
syllables.
yards further away. Whereas Dan, yeah, you got a chance there, I would say. Oh man, here's the thing. I tell you, what I've been playing a lot this week:
Yeah.
frisbee.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I don't know how you guys feel about frisbee. I find it one
have a
of
guess.
the most satisfying activities
Really?
you can indulge in.
I think
Oh,
it could really
man.
catch on.
The horror of it for me, of course, is I don't have any friends. And playing frisbee alone is, I
Yeah.
can't think of a way of doing it.
You want
the
a boomerang,
boomerang.
mate?
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I'm worried about a boomerang because the frisbee I bought a deliberately soft frisbee, you know, because occasionally they smack you in the face, you know that. And
Yeah.
boomerangs, of course, are originally weapons, and I don't really want to be operating with a weapon. But I'll come back in a second because honestly, I'm not kidding. It makes me so happy frisbeeing.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I was talking about frisbeeing, the glory of the hover. I think that's the moment for me. You know, when someone frisbees to you, if frisbee can be a verb, and that moment where you can't quite believe it's still in the air, it's just hanging there. Oh, and then you just grab it. I take it like you might take a plate at the beginning of a buffet, just gently
dear.
into the hand. Oh, it's. Do you guys frisbee?
Yeah, I frisbee fairly frequently.
Oh, it's great. Em?
Do you want to take a guess what the answer to that question might be?
Anti-frisbee?
Do you
You
know?
remember Em's anti-frisbee? Lovely woman. Yeah. I think she was with the old Vic in the 40s.
Yeah.
Do you know? I honestly don't think I've ever successfully caught a frisbee.
Oh,
I-
really makes me sad.
I haven't finished yet
Okay.
because I generally wouldn't bother.
Oh.
If it was thrown in my direction, it's a long way down. I can't. You have to pick it up. It drops all the time. I've never got any pleasure. It's not nice for the nails. I don't get joy from it. I'm really sorry. There are some physical activities I get a tremendous amount of joy from.
Well, keep it
That-
there, Tom.
Well, come on. Yeah.
Also,
But, you know.
I'm biased because my as a dog owner, they are a bit of a hazard. Okay.
Oh,
Well, you
think?
say that, but I dream of the day when I see that most iconic frisbee moment in the flesh when a dog leaps up and catches. I've never seen that live.
That
Yeah.
could be
But
arranged.
I'd love to see it. Well, I don't think every
cover
dog
your
could.
frisbee in pate and it'll happen.
Oh yeah, that's a bit. But I used to work with I used to go out with a woman who'd worked in the TV and film industry. Obviously, been looking at my dossier. And whenever there was a dog in a film that did anything, she would always say, "Gravy." And it was so there'd be gravy on a chair or a gon or on someone's neck or whatever, and the dog would be very eyes on the prize. Dog would go straight for the bisto, I think is. I hope that's a phrase.
I'm glad you're
TV
enjoying
and
the frisbee,
film
though, Frank. That's nice.
Oh man! Imagine seeing a dog catch one now. Now I thought I might bring you in with the dog image of a dog catching one because you're a dog person. Wouldn't that be? They catch them in their mouths. Obviously, I'm not asking them to do anything supernatural
or acrobatic.
Yeah, but just the idea of them taking them between the two front paws is it would be brilliant. But it would also, I don't know if I'd sleep for a week if I'd seen that.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, I don't send me a free frisbee. I've got one. I'm not. That's not why I'm talking about it. I honestly, it's
check
a
you out.
sort
I've got one.
It's a sort of a therapy thing.
Oh, it's very nice.
Yeah. Frisbee, guys. Frisbee. Make frisbee, not war. Is my motto. I don't know.
Does Buzz enjoy a game of frisbee?
Buzz, mainly me and my sister-in-law are very obsessed frisbee participants. So we do it, and then when Buzz says, "Oh, come on, can I play?" we go, "Okay," and then we do it. Because to be honest, you just got to take the standard down a notch, and I think that hurts both of us.
Okay,
But,
well, I might have a game with Buzz then.
Well, bring the dog, and we'll see what we can.
And you stay in the European Super League. Enjoy it.
Well, I think what we can do is skim the frisbee and then throw the dog. So, in other words, we used to see cowboys throw a whiskey bottle in the air and shoot it while it was still airborne. That's the kind of pastime I'm after.
Wow.
Frank Skinner. Absolute Radio.
Frank.
I was just thinking if Emily has a very small dog, and if we were frisbeeing with your small, I imagine what would happen is the dog would come down on it like Silver Surfer, on that thing that he stands on. Anyway, sorry, enough frisbee.
My dog and I don't do frisbee. We'll watch you. I want to talk about the curious incident, not of the dog and the frisbee, but the curious incident of the European Super League.
Oh, yeah, I'd like to discuss this as well.
What a whirlwind 48 hours that had during its
really
brief existence.
Was the biggest thing in football and then gone. I mean, the
great. Shenanigans.
It was the sort of Loch Ness monster of football. It emerged from the water and there was a tremendous explosion of activity and then ping, gone for years.
So we should say, for anyone who missed it, it was essentially over would you say, it was a 3-day period. It was Sunday through to Tuesday. We learnt that, to use a football correspondent's term, top flight clubs from sort of England and Italy and Spain, they'd all been in these secret talks.
Can I say that was my doorbell, if you're wondering?
Oh, was
what
it?
That sound was.
Do you want to get it? Might be exciting.
No, I've asked Kat. I tell you what, it's someone picking up 500 stickers that I've had to autograph.
What for? The poetry book?
Because they're going to be stuck in my prayer book. So I had to sit and sign a load of those.
Is it going to say keep prayer alive?
Terribly depressing Leicester West Brom game. It's an interesting counterpoint. So they're picking those up and taking them. I mention it in case there's anyone from the Arias listening.
Oh, yeah.
Just to say,
this is the sort of stuff they're overlooking.
Yeah, so I'm still quite current.
It might be a representative from the Arias saying there's been a terrible oversight.
That is possible.
Yeah. They've turned up in person.
Yeah. Maybe I will get it.
Maybe.
In case it is. Anyway, sorry, that's what that noise was. It was my doorbell. I apologise. But it gives it a certain authenticity and a sense of place which I think is a good thing.
You
I like
mentioned
the
West
behind the
Bromwich
scenes.
Albion there.
I did mention West Bromwich Albion.
They were not amongst the teams that tried to create the breakaway European Super League, were they?
No.
My
they
team
didn't.
was, though.
Yeah,
we
yours
were
Huddersfield
part
Town
of
were
the what is now. Well, I feel soiled. I'm one of the dirty dozen, as they've now been referred to.
Aren't they the
Don't knock
dirty
it
half
till you've
dozen?
tried it.
No, because including the Italian
see.
and Spanish clubs, we are collectively the dirty dozen.
I wouldn't feel so bad about it. I think that for me, the highlight of the whole incident was that the Premier League were horrified by the idea of turning your back on years of tradition and forming a breakaway league for financial gain. I mean, the Premier League must have thought that was the worst behaviour they'd ever heard in their entire lives. Goodness, no wonder they were affronted.
When there was sort of growing pressure for them to all withdraw, them.
Yeah.
See, I'm saying them. Normally you say we when it's your team. Now it's them. And what I liked was that as the pressure was increasing and everyone got involved, Prince William put a statement on Twitter and he signed it W, which I think he may as well have just said many thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how harsh it was. Boris Johnson got involved. Everyone was sort of putting all this pressure on them. And what I liked is who's going to go first? Well, I think it was Man City. They elected first, didn't they? They said first, OK, we're going to leave this. Then Chelsea, we took our time. It's embarrassing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a pity Chelsea weren't quite so quick when the oligarchs and the oil magnates came in to state their money isn't what football's all about. We're going to have a fans cooperative. OK, we won't win anything, we won't get any good players, but that's more important than money coming in from abroad from people who might not have, the tradition of football at heart. So they miss their moment, those fans. Really.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
We were discussing the European Super League. I have to say, when it was first announced, I don't know who it was, but there was a sports guy on the telly, and he was saying this is the most selfish thing. People who just put their clubs first and don't care about football as a whole. And I thought, yes, that's absolutely right. Although I had already started thinking, hold it, so if these 6 are expelled, does that mean there's no relegation this season?
Oh, yeah.
Premier League?
Could turn out all right, couldn't it?
Yeah, I was getting quite excited about it. I must admit, I was probably more pro European Super League than anyone. I was talking to Jason Mohammed about this, a final score, and he was asking me about it, and I said, I was asking him if he'd ever been to a school party when the big boys from higher years are there, and then they go off to another party, and suddenly you're the main ones. You got a bit of free, you got a chance of getting a girl. You're not going to get humiliated or shoved around. You can have a drink.
It.
Oh, I'd love, no disrespect to your team, Em, but I would have loved them to have gone.
All right, Kevin Keegan.
Yeah, I would
everything would have moved
I would have
up,
loved it.
Everything would have moved up a notch. We'd have been like mid-table. Come on.
Yeah, every cloud.
Yeah.
What I find surprising, guys, is, people who own football clubs seem such nice men normally.
Exactly.
They really do seem like model citizens. And I have to... Go on,
No,
Frank.
go on.
No, I must defer to my honourable
No,
friend.
don't do that. Don't do that. I was just going to say that we've got, at West Brom, we've got like a Chinese billionaire who spent about £9.50 on the club since he's been here. So it doesn't necessarily work out the sort of fairy godmother approach to football. But in the past, what we've had is like local blokes who've made their money from ingots and stuff. We had a bloke called Trev the Shed, who had a big shed company, and that's how he'd made his money. And
You had
he
those
was
nice tumble dryer people. Or boilers.
Well, that see, I think they've come out of it very well. There was no heating engineers involved in the big breakaway. But Trev the Shed was the man who, when we had a screening of a local derby against Wolves at the ground, and there was fighting amongst their fans, was outraged and said, if we ever do a screening again, we'll do it behind closed doors. Which is one of my favourite chairman quotes of all time. But there's been
One of my favourite chairman. Surely there were some Mao quotes you prefer to that.
Yeah, but I don't know. My Cantonese is not what it was. I'm not going to try.
Who's your favourite
live
chairman? Mine's Sir Alan Sugar.
Oh, well, you know what? I once had lunch with Sir Alan Sugar, and he began a sentence. I remember when I signed Jurgen Klinsmann for Tottenham on my yacht in Monaco.
All right.
Oh, man. And then he ordered the flambé, I remember.
Wow.
Yeah, you're fired, he said to the...
Very good.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Hello, this is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Don't text the show today, please, because we're not live in the studio. However, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or you can email the show via the Absolute Radio website, if you like. We were just discussing the European Super League. I got to be straight, I didn't quite see why people were so upset about it. Is that?
I'm glad you've said that. I felt the exact same because, again, it didn't seem like big news to me that football clubs might be motivated by self-interest and.
Oh no, exactly. It's not a new thing that people were a bit. Also, the idea that these clubs are going to be punished by the Premier League for nearly leaving. There was a thing where, when they said, I think that the Premier League, when they pulled out the ESL, the Premier League should have said, "Oh, sorry, we've given your places to someone else."
Yeah.
Sorry, lads.
Straight to top flight football.
It is a bit like we went off, tried to have an affair, and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
That
So
is
now we want to
exactly
come
what
back
happened.
into the family home.
There is a touch of that, yeah.
It's exactly what happened. I wouldn't have them back under any circumstances. I like the FA. The FA have said that the officials from some of those 6 clubs are being forced to step down from some FA subcommittees. I thought, wow, that is a hell of a punishment, isn't it?
Do you know what I found slightly alarming, guys? Was the quote, it was reported that Roman Abramovich is said to be, and then it said in quotes, furious about the way, you don't want to hear that.
No.
You don't want Roman being furious.
But what was
about
he
anything.
furious about? Had they not told Roman Abramovich that they were going into the
I
European...
think Roman was furious that about the way things had played out. I think he was very much pro-ESL, unsurprisingly. But I think he was angry that he wasn't given a heads up that there would be such a strong reaction to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind sort of, people with shaven heads in the street setting fire to replica shirts. I thought that was okay. There was some very sort of people I've never really heard mention football before saying, "Oh, this is an absolute disgrace." And you just sort of thought, well, mind your own business. There was Remainers complaining about the fact that these British people were going to form some sort of European Union, which didn't recognise national barriers and was about bringing Europe together. They were absolutely outraged at that concept.
Football did what politics couldn't. It united people in the same view about Europe.
Why do you think as well, I've always noticed this, when people feel the need to give official statements on anything. So, for example, when the Prime Minister gives a statement, I always find it a bit weird the way Keir Starmer then has to give a statement. Like the leader of the opposition always has to give a slightly diluted statement. It's a bit performative. It's like when a parent tells a dog off and then kid copies them and says, yes, very naughty indeed. That's what it feels
I wish
like
Keir
to me.
Starmer had said that. I wish that had been his statement. Yes, you are naughty. Naughty clubs. If he'd have done that, I could have guaranteed him my support forever through his political career. It would have been so refreshing and brilliant. One of the big complaints about the European Super League as well is that you couldn't get relegated from it. Once you're in it, you're in it forever. And people
Once you're in.
People thought that was an outrage. Like the 6 English clubs that were going in are constantly facing relegation, and that gives them some sort of sense of being alive. I actually think it's about time someone said that relegation is an outmoded concept, that I think the sooner football turns its back on the idea of relegation, the better. I thought we had that revolution in the 60s where kids at school were taught that you can't fail at sport. As long as you're participating, we are all winners. And surely, off the back of that, there shouldn't be any relegation at all. Relegation is such a negative thing. Yeah, I think we should stop relegation, preferably within the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I think we've probably rounded off on the European Super League. I'd say, generally speaking, the key thing to remember is it was less of a threat to football than VAR.
Yeah.
And that's what the protests in the street. People should be burning referees' shirts.
Yeah.
I think
What I love about VAR is the brilliant that for years I have really laid into football officials at various football grounds across the country, mainly at the Hawthorns. But there's always been a little part of me that's bought into that football cliche. It's a very hard job, really.
Right.
And although I've criticised them, it's so difficult to judge something like an offside or a ham or whatever it is in the speed of the game. And what I love about VAR is it's given them absolute slow motion. They can watch the same thing 10 times. And it's finally got rid of that doubt that if you make it really easy for football officials, they still don't know what they're talking about.
Still get it wrong.
They've got nowhere to go now. So I don't know if the European Super League were going to use VAR, but if they agreed not to, I think people might have been a bit keen.
Oh, that might have got them into it. Yeah, I found it a strange news story because it only lasted about 3 days, didn't it? But on day 1, I didn't really pay much attention because I heard the phrase Super League and thought it was about rugby league, and so I just ignored it. And then day 2, it seemed a lot of anger. And then I finally paid it some attention, and it seems that people are annoyed because the breakaway group were all successful football teams. I don't think people are upset just in general at the idea of sport changing and new extra kind of competitions being created. So I was thinking, let's shake football up, but not have it be sort of successful teams all competing with each other. Just find a different way of selecting them. Like maybe one year, all the teams whose names end in United could play each other in a separate, like a United league. So you get Man United against Sheffield United, and just write down the divisions, get all the Uniteds playing, and then, maybe Leyton Orient could play some Chinese teams. Just mix it up. Do it
I
on
like
the
your
names.
phrase. That phrase, let's shake football up, would be a great Man City slogan. I'm surprised some marketing. You can have that, mate, if you're listening from your PR desk.
All the teams who have white away shorts have to play each other. Just make it a bit more randomised.
Just make it random.
I'll be honest with you, I've gone
it?
off football. I've gone off football generally.
I think a lot of people
Have you,
have.
Frank?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time for a rest. The thing is, what
think
West
that's
Bromwich
snooker.
Albion did, I don't want to go on about West Brom, but you know that thing, if you've ever seen Clockwise with John Cleese, there's a bit where
It makes me too stressed when everything goes
he
wrong.
said,
I can't bear it.
he said it's not the despair that gets you, it's the hope.
Yeah.
And we had 2 back-to-back victories, and it just woke up that little gleam of hope. And then on Thursday night, it was utterly dashed to the ground. Still, you don't want to hear about this. This is like, I feel I've stood up at an AA meeting, and Albion Anonymous, obviously, and spat that out. But, oh, God, I'd snatch their hand off for a European Super League place now if it was offered. And that would be quite a big story if it was.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I wanted to talk to you both about some other football news because I must say, commiserations for Buzz, Frank, because he's lost his gaffer, hasn't he?
Well, my son is a Spurs fan, but he took it pretty well. Of course, I don't think Buzz ever got over Pochettino, who signed this programme,
No.
My Best Friend Is You. And so he's happy to see.
It's been a turbulent time
well.
since he started supporting the Black Chickens.
Yes.
Yes. It was great, though, wasn't it, Mourinho's exit? I love the fact that he was carrying enormous pictures of himself winning trophies.
Yeah.
Did you
Held
notice
aloft.
that? It's a really massive picture of him holding up the European Cup Champions.
What I
whatever
liked
they
was
call
that
it.
they were those there were those sort of canvas
Ones without
photo
frames, the
prints
ones with staples.
that you see in the window of Snappy Snaps.
Exactly.
Again, I don't want to always come across like the motoring correspondent on the show, but the fact that they were going in a car with a conventional boot rather than a big...
How did he do that? It's a sort of Mary Poppins approach.
Yes. You'd think he'd know somebody with an estate or a Range Rover in
But
his
there were
position.
massive pictures of him doing well. That's bad. If you're at a club where it's not happening, I don't know if I'd want those. I mean, I've taken down all the pictures of me with arias in our house this week. No, but you don't want to be going into the chairman's coming in. I suppose he has to go into the chairman, but a player coming in about the fact, they've lost 5 games recently and all that, and he's sitting there surrounded by all this previous glory. I'd find that a bit awkward, I must say.
Yeah.
I have a question. Was there something about the clearing out of the office that was slightly performative? I always find it very performative, those clearing out of the office. It's a bit like, when you see someone in those films and they get fired, usually
And they've got the cardboard box.
They've got the cardboard box, and what is in it, guys? The angle poise lamp and the plant.
Yeah,
Always.
the yoker.
Yeah.
Photo of children.
Was he
And of course the enormous canvas of them winning the Champions League. That old cliche,
There were
which I
3
think
of
was
them.
was that in Sleepless in Seattle? I think.
assume-
But I'm just saying, I think he wanted, even though he was saying, I want privacy, please. They don't give me privacy. My friend Gary, he disturbed me.
my
That's
friend
life.
Gary.
I think he didn't want privacy, because if he wanted privacy, he could have said, oh, you know what, could somebody arrange to you've got my address, haven't you? Could you courier those over?
Can you box this stuff up?
Yeah,
for me?
have you got
Your
any,
witness, Frank.
Have you got any paper or something I can put over these enormous pictures of me winning the Champions League before I carry? Because it's a bit embarrassing being sacked and having these pictures of me doing really well. I wonder if it was subliminal messaging to chairmen across Europe that he's leaving with big pictures of how successful he's been. Little flash frames. You remember? Champions League. Yeah.
I want to know if we missed a bit of footage where 8 suitcases full of tracksuits with the initials JM went into the back of the car as well.
I like the old days when it was someone like Cloughy and about 9 bin liners of petty cash went into the car. Oh, yeah. If you want your everyone's been moaning about traditions being, let's get back to the old brown envelope left behind the cistern. If you want to be a traditional football. Obviously, these are all jokes, and none of those people actually got involved in anything of the kind.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
I mean, I have to sympathise with Jose Mourinho because I do this. If I'm doing new material at a little club somewhere and it goes badly, I do really enjoy the exit, the walk home, the idea of the broken artist struggling and suffering. I love all that. I always turn my collar up, even if it's summer, just to look like, like someone like Samuel Beckett leaving a late night rehearsal. Uh-huh. So I think he did a bit of self-dramatisation, didn't he?
Well, it was very...
I got to my car.
I believe the internet referred to it as "You OK, hun?" It was very "You OK, hun?" Especially because the statement said, and this always makes me feel ill, relieved of their duties.
Oh yeah.
Oh, sick burn.
Like it was a bit of a pain being the manager of Spurs. And,
yeah.
Oh God! I tell you what, Mourinho, I've been thinking about it. I'm going to just give you a break. Bye. Yeah, it's not right. The Gary thing though.
His friend Gary.
That?
He's a broadcaster from somewhere, isn't he?
I watched the coverage on Sky Sports News, of course, and it placed Sky in a very difficult position, which I enjoyed tremendously, because Gary Cottrell, who is the journalist, Sky were obviously fiercely proud that Jose Mourinho referred to him personally and gave him a bit of a playful hug and all that.
Yes.
It was like our guys really in with Jose Mourinho. And obviously that was the man of the moment. It was a big story. It was a great moment for Sky. But they had to follow it with like a 40-second disclaimer about the hug, saying that we've both been in individual bubbles, and can I point out that we've both tested on a regular basis, and they gave a long COVID explanation, and they must have thought, look, we have to show this clip, and we'll just do a big apology after, but we can't not show Gary Cottrell in the arms of Jose Mourinho. I did love it.
It did make me think, in the times of social distancing, the only handshake that you can get is if you're Jose Mourinho, the golden handshake.
Well, they say he'll get 15 million. No,
he gets loads, doesn't he? Every time he gets sacked, he gets absolutely.
That's like $1 million a month, virtually.
It's all right, isn't it? I mean, I do
well,
this show for less.
He's one of the world's most successful football managers. But,
I've seen it on his posters.
Yeah. Did he have one that just said that? Just like, keep calm and carry on.
Yeah.
I wish he had a mug saying that. You don't have to be special to work here, but it helps.
He does an advert, doesn't it? Do they have it on this?
Yes, he does.
Of him saying special is winning Champions League. Winning, and then it's like some betting thing, not so special. In other words, there's loads of winners. I didn't like it. I felt he'd let me down, let himself down. Yeah. But, we're all different. I suspect I've been watching Spurs now because my son supports them. And it's quite hard work watching Spurs under Jose Mourinho, if I'm going to be absolutely... Oh, man, football with a handbrake.
You don't have to add the under Jose Mourinho in my...
No, it was fantastic, the Pochettino years, but he's a cautious man. I was surprised he wasn't wearing a crash helmet when he got out the car. He is a cautious man. I suspect that he will go into rugby now, where the forward pass is outlawed. I think he'll feel tremendously at home in that environment.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Frank, I would like to take you into the outside world. We've had a missive via Instagram, which I'd like to share with you. It's a late critique rather than a late review. It's from Ginger Jennifer. Hi, Frank. Hope all well. I just wanted to disagree with you on a point you made on Saturday, the 26th of October, 2019. An ex-girlfriend of yours.
Is this from my partner?
I already like the tone of this text.
She keeps a detailed grudge journal, which she
Wouldn't it be
occasionally
great
reads from.
to just send an ex a message out of the blue saying, "Hello, hope you're well. I'd just like to disagree with you on something you said on Tuesday the 4th of March, 1997.
So what
anyway,
did I say way
Jennifer
back?
continues. While
I like
discussing...
the sound of ginger, Jennifer, by the way. I champion
too.
gingers in all areas of life.
While discussing Kylie Jenner merchandise and those who buy it, you said, "Fools are harmless." My husband and I discuss this quote frequently, and we strongly disagree. We believe fools in large groups are absolutely dangerous. Anyway, I feel like I had to get that off my chest as it's been bothering me since October 2019. I would just like to add that whenever we see someone committing a foolish act that could cause them or others harm, for example, not following the Green Cross Code, my husband and I will say to each other, "Remember that time that Frank Skinner said fools are harmless? You really do amplify our fool radar. All the best, Jennifer."
Yeah, I think this is partly down to the fine distinction between a fool and an idiot.
Oh, yeah.
I think a fool is by definition a harmless, hapless individual who says silly things and does silly things. But I think that the dangerous branch become idiots. So I think this is about semantics, Ginger Jennifer. Right, or should I say Auburn Jennifer, if just as an example of how things can be interchanged. Yes, you're right. There are some dangerous people around, but they're idiots.
Right.
Okay, got that sorted out.
You're very focused on the fools, yeah?
Fools are lovable, I think.
Right.
This was it was a distinction that me and David Baddiel forged many years ago. In the course of doing a lot of TV series, you work with some fools and some idiots, and it's very important to be able to put them into their respective groups in a shorthand way when you're discussing them after the show.
Oh, nice.
Little tip there for anyone who's going into television.
I like the idea of you forging like you were blacksmiths or something.
Yeah, well,
When you were given that dossier, was it just full of fools and idiots that work in
there was a
television?
fools and idiots subheading in it. Yeah. I think the dossier opened. If you're going to work in television for any period of time, you must develop a method for dealing with people who are much less funny than you, telling you what's funny.
Oh, yeah,
it stuck with me, that opening. I think it was a quote from John Logie Baird. Yeah, and it stuck with me, and I've passed it on to lots of people going into television for the first time. Yeah, that's the kind of a guy I am. I think it's important to have a sort of, if you've done all right, when you come out of that, have a sort of philanthropic sharing thing with others. Anyway, let's leave it on that rather sparkling note of compassion. Thank you so much for listening today. Sarah Champion is up next. I do listen to her. Guys, I don't see you today. This is Alan and Emily, but thanks for being there. Thank you all for being there. And if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again live this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.